And we are here to talk about the new band, the new project, Audiotopsy. The debut album, Natural Causes, out in 2 weeks. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about how the band came together. Who contacted who, and what was really the origins of this project?
Well, actually, I was busy just doing some work in the studio, working on my own music, and I got a random call from Greg Tribbett, and that's pretty much how it started.
Okay.
When Greg and I first spoke to each other, it took me a second or two for it to digest, And one of the things that happened was that Greg asked me if I would send him some of my music that I was currently working on. He just kind of wanted to hear what I was up to,
Yeah.
And so I was in the studio working, and the studio is inadvertently the same studio that we recorded Natural Causes in. Ultimately, it worked out that way, but and I can go into that if you'd like. But
yeah, sure.
basically, he and I, spoke for a day or two, and he asked me if I would just send him some music, and so I did. And one of the things he asked me was, he said, "Man, who is this bass player that is playing with you here? And is that him singing with you too?" And because you could just tell there's two different voices going on.
Right.
And I said, well, yeah, absolutely. And he asked me if this guy, his name's Perry, obviously he's in the band,
Yeah.
would be interested in being a part of the project. So I asked Perry, and Perry basically was like, well, of course, duh, yeah, I'd love to do it. And that's kind of how it started, man. It didn't take a long process at all, man. It pretty much erupted based on that phone call. It took me a second. I had to breathe a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Sure.
it took a second for me for us to put it all together, But then I think right after that, Greg started sending me music.
Nice.
And then from there, I have my own studio here at the house, and we just started basically working on the songs, and from there it just snowballed.
Nice. So was the album really recorded in your home studio, or was it recorded kind of in an outside studio?
Oh yeah, it was definitely recorded at a studio here in Orlando called the Porch Studios, which is owned and ran by a guy named Tim Laud,
Okay.
Laud, and he engineered our record. Actually, he's an incredible engineer. He owns a studio, very very he's a career guy. He's been doing what he does for 30 years plus, and
Nice.
we were really I was actually already working with him. He was recording songs for me for my own record that I've been working on for a while, and the long and short of it is that these guys ended up inquiring about, because it just sounded, my stuff sounded really really good to Greg, and Greg basically was like, look man, can we just record there? Would he be interested in engineering this, And so that's kind of how that went down,
Nice. So from the original recordings that you did to the final product, what are some of the differences from what you had originally done to what people will hear is, eventually became Natural Causes?
Man, that's a good question, but I got to be honest with you, not much, man.
Okay.
This was one of the first times, man, that I really kind of nailed it, I guess you could say. I put this music together, or put all of my work, my initial effort on these songs. I'd say 90 to 95% of everything that you hear on this record is exactly what I demoed.
Okay.
To each song, and only minimal changes, like maybe a lyric tweak here or a little melody tweak here, but I would say the guts of everything pretty much made it to the record.
Nice. So, a lot of people most people know the backstory of you and Greg and the rest of the guys in the band. You were in Scrape, Greg, and he was in Mudvayne. But when you separate and you form a new project, a new band, how important was it, especially with Audiotopsy, to have it be something different from what you've done before, or was that something you were comfortable doing and wanted to do, have it be similar or different?
Well, we all sat down and basically collectively decided that this band was going to be a new band and be, completely different on all aspects. But the we didn't really say per se dwell on it. You know what I mean? We didn't make it like this was a total no rules situation, man. And when we started putting this music together, and everything started come after the first song, we were like, dude, this is a sound. This is fresh. This is different. This doesn't sound like anything between. I mean, it collectively has all the good elements of both bands.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a completely new band with a new sound and a whole new thing going on. And we didn't put any boundaries on that. We just let it evolve, and we just had some minimal discussion about how we wanted to make sure that we weren't tapping too much into our old bands, and we were charting some new territory.
Right. Well, I mean, we're naturally there's going to be similarities there, because you were in other bands for so long, and I mean, listening to the album, you can musically there's going to be similarities to Mudvayne. They're there. Vocally, there's going to be similarities to Scrape because it's you. But it like you said, it's its own monster. The whole thing is just ridiculous. It's insane. The album.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
If you're not prepared, the album is going to kick your ass, and so in a good way.
Appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Definitely. So is this a project that we can see maybe a second, third, fourth, fifth album from down the road? Maybe like a long-term project for you guys?
Absolutely, man. There's no doubt about it. We might have to make some room for a Mudvayne record, but I'm cool with that. But Audiotopsy's, for sure, going to be an entity, man. There's no doubt about it.
Right. And the Mudvayne thing, I'm sure that's something that Greg is just... Everybody's tired of getting those questions, but obviously those questions are going to come up. But if that happens down the road, it happens down the road. But Audiotopsy, this debut is strong enough that it could become its own, big, huge, headlining band, all that stuff down the road. This whole album there's no filler. The whole album is just good. So, I mean...
Thank you very much, man. I mean, that's what we hope to happen, but... we're all really, really good, at our crafts, and we're accomplished artists. And, I have a catalog, man, hundreds of songs. I've been a songwriter my whole life. And, even though I've kind of been out of the game for a little while, I've never stopped, my love for this game, and, this was a chance for me to, kind of let it all out, sort of, and get that out on wax, and it kind of came out that way, and I didn't really try, really, man. I just, just kind of breathed, just took a deep breath, and it came out,
Right. And as the lyricist and the main, the sole, song, lyricist in the band, what was a couple things that you really wanted to say with Natural Causes?
Well, that's a good question. I think more than anything, I just wanted to say, there's something wrong out there, I think in the game of the music, of, say, quote unquote, the music business, and there's not a lot of emphasis being put on what the problem is, and I think that with this record, I wanted to kind of address kind of inadvertently those issues, you know what I mean, and try to write and circumvent, all of the mud, the muddy water that you can't see through, you know what I mean, and to try to create and reveal some clarity, man, and I think that was my focus here with that.
Awesome. So looking down the road, obviously you guys are going to be touring a lot to promote this album. Touring plans, what are we looking at as far as maybe an upcoming tour for the debut?
Okay, touring plans, we have several things in the works that I really am not at liberty to talk about right now.
Sure.
We're waiting. We're kind of in a holding pattern as far as that goes. I do expect the band to be out sometime in mid-September supporting our single, and then our record got pushed, man. I don't think you got the memo on that, but we're not slated for it to be released till till October 5th.
Oh, I didn't realize. I did not know. I didn't realize it got pushed back. Oh,
Yeah, man.
oh.
So you might want to reword some things there, but
Yeah,
man, we
sure.
have our single is going to fully impact September the 15th.
Okay.
But we have it's being softly released this Friday to I didn't write the stations down. A Kilo
Okay.
in Colorado Springs,
Okay.
and then I think it's WJJO up in Wisconsin, in
Nice.
Madison.
Nice.
They are, and then Octane, Sirius Octane.
Oh,
those
yeah.
those three entities this Friday are going to spin The Calling, which is our first single,
Nice.
our first actual bona fide single, and then from there, I think that some other stations may come on board, but I do know that the hard impact date is September the 15th.
Okay.
And then the actual release date of the record is October the 5th.
Okay, yeah, I didn't realize it got pushed back. I can
Sorry about that, man.
Oh, it's all good. I can reword that. That's not a problem. You mentioned
Just needed a little more time, man. Just sorry about that. We just needed a little more time for some setup. That's all.
Oh, nothing wrong with that. And you mentioned Sirius Octane, which I think is a great station. And in today's rock and roll world and metal world, where kind of rock radio is honestly, it's kind of dwindling a little bit, to have something like Sirius Octane and even Liquid Metal out there on XM, what does stuff like that do for an artist like yourself and a band like Audiotopsy to have a tool out there like Octane or Liquid Metal?
Well, it gives a plethora of bands, a chance to get some airplay more than first and foremost. For a band like Audiotopsy, it's a great platform, man, for a launch. Mm-hmm. Being a new band and basically having something completely new that nobody's ever heard before. It being spun on satellite radio, there's a lot of listeners there. A lot of people are migrating from terrestrial radio to the satellite medium.
Yeah.
Simply because there's no commercials, and I have Sirius XM in my truck. It rules.
Yeah.
If I don't want to listen to music, I can put on Raw Dog, or put on a news channel or just something like that. And I think that is getting more listeners than anything. It's people, if they don't necessarily want to listen to music, then they can scroll and listen to something else, and they have full control. And I just think that's an incredible tool for an artist. But at the same time, terrestrial radio still got juice, man.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those things that it's a crapshoot, man. It's like going to play poker, man. You don't know if you're going to win or not,
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that it's not the same with the satellite mediums because they show love to everybody, and I think it's great,